Welcome to Building Great Sales Teams, a show dedicated to making sales teams tick, tick, boom. Great sales teams are not recruited, they are built, block by block. Let's get to work.
All right, guys, welcome to Building Great Sales Teams. I am your host, Doug Mitchell, and I'm doing a formal introduction today. I got a solo dolo episode for you guys. As my solo episodes typically are, this is going to be incredibly tactical. Tactical to the point of it's going to be called the toolbox is what I'm going for here. The reason for that is I want to walk through the tools that support sales teams in general, the ones I've used over the years, what I'm using right now. Part of what I did to prepare for this episode is I went through our business bank account and looked at all the charges. What are the expenses we have right now, and why are we spending money on those expenses, and how do they benefit our team when we do that? So I wanted to fill you guys in on this. So not the greatest episode if you're driving because you're going to want to write some of this stuff down. So when you get at the office, put it back on and we'll walk through this. But okay, let's get into it. All right, so tools of the trade. I'm going to start out with communication tools. So, I feel like one of the most important tools that you can use is your communication tool. This is the GroupMe, the Slack, the Pronto, the Gamify, whatever software you're using. It is how you stay in touch with your people, especially when you have a sales team that's out in the field. It's the way everybody stays connected throughout the day. So if you don't have something like this, you need to get something like this as soon as possible. Even if you have a call center, even if everybody sees each other for 8 hours a day, it doesn't matter. This is the middle ground that everybody can post onto, and everybody can stay in tune with each other. And some of the things that we use this for is basically company numbers, right? Where we're at as a company, competitions. If we got competitions going on between sales teams, sales groups, or setters and closers, like in solar. It's also a place that we post our gratitude every morning to start off on the right foot. We post recognition in here, as well as company news, changes to offers, changes to pricing, products, whatever the case is. That's where we're going to post it. Now, we have daily meetings where we cover a lot of this stuff, but people miss meetings, right? And one of my favorite things about communication tools like this, especially when it comes to competitions, is now every rule for the competition, every qualifier is in writing. It's incredibly important when you're doing competitions because salespeople will find that little basically loophole, and they'll abuse the loophole if you don't cover it and you don't put it in writing. And so communication is huge. One of the other ways that we communicate, like we have smaller teams in other markets than our main market, which is Corpus Christi. We have our big team there. And so Wayne runs the meeting out of Corpus Christi. And then in San Antonio, we have 3 salespeople for solar in San Antonio that zoom into the meeting there. And we use a device called a Facebook portal. And what I love about this Facebook portal camera is it will immediately grab everybody in the room that is in view of that camera. And so it feels much more like you're in the room to the people on the other end of the TV, as well as yourself, because you're getting a view. On the other end, you got a Facebook portal camera as well. You're getting the view of that team that's over there, and not just this wide view that's not really dynamic. So with the Facebook portal, it moves around with the people in the room. Even individually, it works really well for you too. So, but going into those tools, all right, so GroupMe. GroupMe is the one that everybody starts with, right? That's the one when you first start your sales team or even just your company, you're using for common communication and, posting motivation and all the other stuff I talked about in there. The issue with GroupMe is once something is posted, it can't be deleted. It can only be deleted by the person that posted it, if it can be deleted at all. So you can imagine having a sales team and some of the things that are said that are inappropriate, or maybe it's somebody that's disgruntled, whatever case is, they want to post something nasty on their way out whatever the case. You can tell I've dealt with hundreds and hundreds of salespeople, so I've seen every situation that's ever happened with this, and so that's the issue with GroupMe. I understand if you don't have the budget for a messaging tool, but you can find some out there for a couple $100 a month, depending on how many people you have too, because a lot of them are priced per user, right? And so the next one that I would recommend after that, and this one is on the more expensive side, that's why it's not my final recommendation. This one's more on the expensive side, but it has so many more tools that you can use within it, and that's Slack. A lot of you use Slack for your businesses already, so you can integrate your sales team right into this. But as well as I do, you can only have one free user that is in one group. If they're in multiple groups, then they're a paid user, and it's anywhere from 15 to 25 per user, and it gets expensive fast if you have a large sales team. And I've always had large sales teams, so that may be $500 to $1,000 a month for me. And so I love Slack and all the capabilities and functionalities of it. I don't understand them all. I've always paid other people to understand that for me and use those to the best of their abilities, because it has automations in there. You can send zaps into it. You know what I mean? So like customer service type stuff or salesperson support, you can run through there, and it can create tasks within your CRM, within your task manager. Slack is the king of kings when it comes to intercompany messaging apps, right? You can attach files. You can do a lot of stuff with Slack. Okay, but for some people it's too much, and it is expensive, right? So the number one tool that I'm going to recommend is Pronto. Okay, Pronto's a smaller company, does a lot of the basics of what Slack does, as well as you have complete control. Like I talked about earlier, you can delete, you can remove people, you can edit comments. And my favorite thing about Pronto that Slack doesn't do, or at least without a hefty price, is Pronto, you can customize the app icon. And so when you customize that, your people have to opt into it, but then they can have, like, for my people, they have the Argenta app logo. It has the Argenta logo on the actual app. So it says Pronto, but the logo, our company logo, is showing on there. And that's real big for me. And you'll see with a lot of these tools, I really place a lot of value in the visualization and the branding of the company. You know what I'm saying? Because I want my people to take pride in that logo, because that's their company, that they're achieving that freedom with, which is our mission statement, right? And so Pronto is really good about that. Now, I went to SolarCon a couple months ago, and I was introduced to a software called Gamify. I had heard about it before. It looks really cool. It looks like a badass software, especially for a competition-centric sales team, and it's an easy way to manage competitions and stuff and not have to order stuff on Amazon yourself or send out gift cards yourself. It's all done through this Gamify app, and they do the messaging, and they have the groups and everything you need that Pronto has. The problem is they want their money up front, which is crazy to me. So, if I had 20 users and it's $15 a month, 15 times 20 for 1 month, that'd be $300, and they want 12 months up front, so that's like $3,700. And I think it's more than that, because I remember it being like almost 12 to 15 grand for all the features we wanted and everything. And they wanted a year up front. Now, if you know anything about sales teams in terms of versus a regular staff position, it's a high turnover position. So why am I going to pay for a year up front when I don't even know if I'm going to have 20 people in a year? I may have 15. I may have 25. You're definitely going to charge me if I go over. So why am I prepaying for these 20 people, signing a contract for it? So that's the issue I had with Gamify. But it looks like if you're in a position to be able to write that check, then Gamify has a lot of promise. But Pronto's where I'm at right now. That'll get the job done. And honestly, we've been really happy with it since we got it. Okay, so that's the first tool. That's the communication tool. The next piece is going to be visuals. Okay, so salespeople by nature are very visual people. They're not going to open up a book, read it, and learn from that, or be motivated necessarily by that, right? They need to see the visual. They're better with memes and visual things like flyers and stuff like that. So every time I do a competition, every time I do a bonus, comp plan, whatever the case is, there's a visual that needs to be made. And it's not enough just to do this is the competition, this is the qualifications, and this is the amount or thing that you can win in regular text. I need pictures of the thing. I need a company logo on everything. Remember I told y'all they need to take pride in the company, and the easiest way for them to take pride in the company is to see the company everywhere throughout the company communications, right? So one of the easy ways to combo these tools is to use so some of the tools that I used in the past was Photoshop and Illustrator. I came from a graphic design background, so it was easy for me to create these things quickly. And then a couple of years ago, they came out with Canva. That's been huge for business owners, because now all of a sudden you're able to create graphic design level visuals and distribute them throughout your company digitally, right? And so Canva has been fantastic. And then the other one that I use is Fiverr. So I use Fiverr on bigger projects. I don't have time to do graphic design anymore. I don't have time to make these, SOPs or sales manuals or training Bibles look pretty. But they are going to look pretty, damn it, because we have got to separate ourselves from other sales organizations, right? So you as an individual business owner, you're going to be at some point competing for recruits or competing for your own people against other sales organizations that do nothing but sell, right? So you want to make sure your stuff's on point. So anything that a salesperson visually sees needs to have your logo on it and have some type of nice design encompassing it so that they recognize, okay, that's the brand. A lot of the stuff that I have, there's a blue border around the document, you know what I'm saying? And then in the bottom corner, there's the Argenta logo. If it's solar stuff, there's the Argenta solar logo, right? And so the visual pieces are huge. You want to make sure you have a great logo, and you want to have a certain design, a certain feel, a certain brand that goes with your company. If you go on Instagram and go to Argenta Field Solutions right now, you're going to see a certain look and a certain feel that my staff is very good at replicating and reusing. So my social media director, Nika, she has in Canva what we call our brand Bible. And so all the social media posts that we do kind of follow that brand Bible. So her assistant can come in and make a post and use the graphic that she's already put aside for that particular post and just swap out the information. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be, a G Club graphic, a solar quote or a solar review graphic, whatever the case is, it's all in there in the brand Bible in Canva. And everybody has access to that. And so that kind of keeps your brand moving along properly, even if you use different people for different things, right? And so Canva is really great for that. So the tool I'm going to recommend for visuals is 100% Canva, right? And then, like I said, for the bigger stuff, you're going to use Fiverr, okay? The next tool I want to talk about is, I'm recommending it right away. There is no getting around this. If you are using Outlook, Yahoo, any of these other email platforms besides Google, I'm going to recommend immediately stop doing that crap. Because here's the bottom line. If you're hiring salespeople, especially entry-level salespeople, even seasoned salespeople, everybody knows how to use Google. Everybody knows how to use Gmail. They have a Gmail. It's rare that I see Yahoo and AOL or any of these other ones. They're just old, they're outdated. And Gmail has so many functionalities within the email, and then when you open up into the whole suite, you can run your whole business off of Google Suite. And so you've got, obviously, Sheets. You've got, what do they call it? Their version of Word docs. You can do PDFs. You can do all kinds of stuff within. You can do slides, which is, their version of PowerPoint. And I was just talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about how Google Sheets has gotten so much better compared to what it used to be a couple years ago in comparison to Excel. And it has a lot of those functionalities that Excel has now. And if it doesn't have something, there's templates out there for it that you're able to kind of build on. So Google Suite is where it's at. And if your email says at gmail.com or at anything but your company name.com, you need to fix that right away. And the way that you do that is you go to GoDaddy, you buy your domain. And so for me, argenta.com was taken, right? So I did teamargenta.com. I've had teamargenta.com for probably 10 plus years now. And that's been our email. That's been our main email. You know, we have argentasolar.com. We've had Texas Smart Security. We've had all these other products and everything. But our teamargenta.com has been our main email for a long time. And I have like 7 or 8 different emails right now, but they all go to the same inbox because Google allows you to do that and to do aliases, and as well as multiple main emails go to one inbox. My life's gotten so much easier since I've set that up. So Google Suite is where that is at. And then when you talk about the organization of the files within your company, this is where Google's really good, is you've got Google Drive, and then you've got Shared With Me, and then you've got My Drive, right? If you're the owner of the company or you're the director for the particular division and you're managing a sales team, and there is no universal area to go to find sales training, sales documents, whatever the case is, you need to create it within Google Drive. So it's My Drive, and then like if you're the company owner, it's, you know, what I typically start with in my hierarchy is executive, right? So that's the CEO. You know, your accountant is going to have access to that particular folder. So I start with executive, and then I'll put financial, and then I'll put operations, and then I'll put sales, and then marketing. And that's typically how I break it into 4 parts there. And then from there, I organize the rest of the company, right? You got sales, SOPs, training, product knowledge, you know, scripts, all that stuff. It's all in there, right? Operations, you got, again, SOPs, you've got reports, you've got anything to do with operations, fulfillment, all that good stuff in there. Marketing, you've got all your marketing materials, your visuals, like we talked about, stuff like that. And then, of course, financials is where you have your financial reporting and everything. So Google Suite is really fantastic for that. Guys, I know this stuff is boring, but bear with me. This is how you run the back end of your sales organization or your sales team or your company in general. You know, these are all products that a lot of companies and friends and, you know, family that have their own businesses use as well. And this is after 12 years of using the wrong products, right? So Google Suite is what I'm going to recommend for your back end, your email, even your web hosting, if you can facilitate that. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Let's get into recruiting. So this one is fairly new for me, the one that I'm going to recommend. So I had started hearing about this from Sean Wilshane with Shared Solar Advisors. I don't even think he realized that he affected me in this way, but so he started using Shannon Killian, which I'm going to mention her a few times in this podcast because you're going to be able to utilize her as well. But so I have a contractor that works for me, Shannon Killian, and she did all my recruiting and my payroll, right? So she's fantastic at that stuff. She's a systems guru, right? And so I recommended her to Sean because Sean needed some help with recruiting. And throughout that process, she got back to me. She's like, hey, they're using this site called WiseHire. And she loved it. She said, WiseHire is fantastic. They're killing it on WiseHire. And it's not so much getting the volume, it's more getting the right people in the right seats. And WiseHire is really good about that. And so when you look at all the recruiting websites out there, Career Builder, Indeed, Monster, all the different ones out there, and there's like 7 or 8 that I can't think of right now, but typically they drive the traffic to an inbox, and then from that inbox you manage the lead. And so that lead goes from that site to a CRM or a Google Sheet, whatever the case is. You start calling on them, you start trying to get them into the office or get them recruited, right? When you're doing high-level sales recruiting, it's the same as if you're working leads, you know, for your service or your product, whatever the case is, right? You need to be recruiting that way too. You need to have a marketing report that shows you exactly what the sources are for your recruits, as well as the conversion rates for each of those sources, and then your overall cost per hire, your overall conversion rates. You can get it down to the people that are actually doing the phone calls, if there are phone calls involved, or messages, and you can look at their conversion rates, right? So it gets real technical in recruiting, and that's where Google Sheets come in, and that's where, quite frankly, Shannon comes in, because she can build that out for you, right? And so going back to WiseHire, though, what WiseHire does for you is it kind of creates a funnel. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. It creates a funnel, and so it pushes out to all those websites I just described. It pushes out to Indeed, Monster, Career Builder, all these websites that you're looking for salespeople through. It pushes out to them, and it's $299, or I'm sorry, $199 per location, right? So I have an office in Corpus Christi, Houston, San Antonio, so I'm paying $600 a month when I'm recruiting in those 3 markets. And then what it does really well is it almost replaces your first round interview with a virtual interview, right? But the platform that it's on, one, it goes ahead and puts a sales test in place, right? You give it the title that you're hiring for, and it'll automatically generate a recruiting ad copy based on that title, right? And then you can modify it from there however you need to. So that's the first thing it does. And then once the applicant applies, it starts basically it looks like a CRM. That's what it is. WiseHire is a recruiting CRM. That's what I'm getting to. So it shows you stages that new hire's coming in, and as just an applicant, all right, they filled out your DISC assessment. It does DISC assessments as well. They filled out your DISC assessment, and they answered your qualifying questions, right? So the first thing you want to do to get good people is get rid of the people that are just applying for jobs to apply for jobs and collect unemployment, right? Those people don't complete DISC assessments. And remember, you only have to complete this once with a WiseHire job poster. You only have to complete it once, and then anytime you apply to another position, it'll automatically include your DISC assessment. So they only have to do this once, right? Now, then it's got the qualifying question. So that's another level of entry that you have to go through, right? And once they do those 2 things, okay, they're putting in the effort, and they, at a very entry level, have qualified for your position. They are probably going to be somewhat of a good hire because they actually could follow instructions and finish the test, right? And so you see these conversion rates happening, you see the stages, right? And then you can move them into the interview process. You schedule the first round interview, and it's really cool because, one, you'll see the history of any chat between you and them, right? And you can put in automations like, hey, you need to complete your DISC assessment in order for us to move to the next step, or you need to complete your qualifying questions in order for us to move to the next step. So it kind of gets rid of that back and forth process, and it's all on one platform, right? And then it'll also give you suggestions in terms of interview questions based on the position that you're hiring for, which is really cool because then you can take someone that, at an entry level, at a first round interview, you can take someone that hasn't been around your business for a long time and set up a template for them to use for that first round interview, and basically score that first rounder based on those template questions. And by the time they're finished with it, you'll be able to qualify them based on that score. Or the first round interview will tell you, hey, this is a good candidate because of all this. And then not only that, the WiseHire platform is also ranking the candidate based on their DISC assessment and their qualifying questions of how strong of a match they are for you. So whenever you look at those stages and you look at the contact moving through those stages, at each stage their match probability goes up or down. It's 100% or it's 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever the case is. So if you get a lot of applicants, you can set up an automation that you won't take any interviews of anybody that's 70% less probability match, which is really cool. So WiseHire also does a ton of other stuff, but that is the number one tool I'm going to recommend for recruiting right now. Anybody that's asking me, that's what I'm pointing them to. Here's another hidden feature, and I shouldn't say hidden, but cool feature of WiseHire. You can have your current team all do DISC assessments on WiseHire. And so think about it. Most of the positions you're hiring for, you already have within the company. You're not replacing them, you're adding on, right? So you have people in your company that are really good at their job. in this case, a salesperson. So you have your top 5 salespeople take a DIS assessments, and then you compare those DIS assessments to your new applicants coming in. You can literally hire the same dang people that are doing well in your company at an entry level. You know what I'm saying? Because a DIS assessment is really an overall. They can't game the questions for the position because it just doesn't work that way. It's about who they are as a person. And so you can hire more of these top producer DISC assessed people. You're going to be in great shape moving forward with your hires, but you have to commit to the process, and you have to be okay with hiring slower, but hiring the right people, right? And so that's Wise Hire. That's the number one tool for recruiting. Some auxiliary tools is going to be Hello Sign. So that is your 1099 or your basically your onboarding paperwork, an easy way to get it out to them, get it all signed before they even walk in the office. Nobody likes to be signing paperwork their whole first day. Like to knock that stuff out when they come into the office, right? Zaps for any systems. This is another thing that Shannon's really good at is connecting different systems to each other through Zaps. And then social media. Social media is a whole nother different animal. Wise Hire will not connect to Facebook or Instagram. I imagine they're working on something like that, but that's going to be a different campaign, you know, and you know, what I recommend as far as that and what Shannon was really great about is think about it like how do I say this? Deadliest Catch. If you ever watch Deadliest Catch on A&E, right? They would drop these crab buckets in the ocean in these quadrants, right? And these crab buckets would fill up based on, you know, how hot that area was at the time, right? And so I look at recruiting the same way. And so what Shannon was really good about is recognizing, okay, there's a downtrend in applicants, all right? So I'm going to pull the ad from this area, and I'm going to spend this money over here on Facebook right now instead of Indeed, right? I'm going to spend the money on Facebook for 2 weeks. Facebook's going to get hot for 2 weeks, and then it's going to fizzle out because the people that I'm able to advertise to ran out. And so I'll go back over here to Indeed. So it's like a rest and a repost, basically. And so if you have someone that understands this concept and is really good at doing that, if not, definitely reach out to Shannon. She's charging anywhere from $35 to $50 an hour right now, and she's a huge asset where she can build out your recruiting program, teach your people how to use it, and send you on your merry way, right? And so after that is Google Sheets, which, you know, we've tried. So Wise Hire, while it is a great CRM and it gives you good conversion rates and everything, it's not going to give you the overall view of your recruiting program. And if you're hiring, you know, anywhere from 1 to 5 salespeople weekly, you're going to really need that wide view, which is going to include the social media, which is going to include conversion rates on your different ads, which is going to include conversion rates on your managers that are hiring the salespeople, right? So when they get to that second round interview and it's in person, how well is your manager converting those? Because sales positions, you end up pitching your position more than the applicants pitching themselves for it sometimes, right? And so you've got to kind of dance through that process, and we could have a whole episode on recruiting, but you want conversion rates for your managers so you can hold them accountable to, we're recruiting 50 people a month, and, manager A is converting 20% of the people that come in, and manager B is converting like 5% of the people that come in. What's the difference? Let's figure this out, right? And so you need an overall marketing report that's going to show you all that. And that's, again, one thing that Shannon's really good at building. And so you've got to understand that when it comes to these tools, you need someone that sees the bigger picture, that is able to integrate them together, And while I was really good at making sure all the departments communicated with each other and that the tools did flow through, Shannon was the connector between those tools, where she would use Zaps, or she would use Google Web Forms, or she would use all these different things to connect these softwares. Now, there's a lot of great softwares out there right now that kind of do the A to Z systems, depending on your product or depending on your business. But when you're very specific about how you want things laid out is where you need a systems director, right? And she was our systems director for 5 or 6 years, and then we put her on contract after that because she started doing stuff for other people too, and we wanted her to have that opportunity, right? So a lot of, what I'm saying is I'm pushing you to her for her to build it out for you, because I'm not going to take the time to do it myself, you know what I'm saying? And she's great at that stuff. So, all right, so let's get into the website. This is pretty simple for me. Again, I started out in marketing, so I did it myself at first, and I use Wix, which is a very user-friendly, templated website builder. But you don't even need a website these days. Sometimes phone sites is enough, right? So phone sites is a website you can build on your phone, and it operates like a funnel where it takes the lead from top-end funnel all the way down to qualified, and as they go through the qualifying stages, they get hotter and hotter as a lead in your system, and then you're able to track and manage your leads through there. If you're just looking for like general information pages, contact pages, stuff like that, phone sites does that as well very easily. If you're looking for something like, maybe have a little e-commerce, maybe have, a blog on there and stuff like that, I would definitely use Wix for that. Now, if you want a badass site, well-designed, aesthetically pleasing, and you don't want to do it yourself, I'm going to recommend John highly for that. He's the website king. He's got some amazing templates that he uses, but he's very good at taking those templates and customizing them based on your product, your brand, and your personality, if you will, in the way that you run your business. And his websites work really well for that. And that leads right into CRMs, okay? Now, to date, and again, look, on all of these tools, I am not an expert. I am a jack of all trades with these tools because I'm running a business. I'm not running these tools every day, right? And so understand this is just my opinion, okay? But as far as it's kind of like going back to the messaging app, the way that Slack is the most dynamic tool, but it's a little too expensive depending on what level you're at. Well, Salesforce is the same thing for CRMs. To me, Salesforce will smoke, go high level all day. Whether we're talking marketing campaigns, drip campaigns, call centers, Salesforce can do freaking everything, but it costs an arm and a leg, guys, And not only that, does the software cost a lot, but you have to have someone that knows what they're doing within the software, okay? And it is not user-friendly. So this is where Shannon comes in again, and you guys are going to get tired of hearing her name, but you're going to know who to call for this stuff. So Shannon is going through Trailhead as well as the Salesforce certification process, and she can pretty much do all of your basic stuff in Salesforce right now. So if you need someone to build that out for you in Salesforce, she's your gal. Now going into Go High Level. Go High Level's got the marketing down, right? But you can run a whole company on Salesforce. Payroll, HR, messaging. Salesforce can do everything you can think of besides maybe like email. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had an email platform too. But Salesforce can do all that. Now, when you get into marketing, Go High Level is the GOAT. Go High Level is where you want to be. And, your more expert level CRM builders like Sam, I'm going to butcher his last name, Cahias. He's over there in Australia. He's stuck over there with Matt, the Drink from Skulls marketing guy. He was actually on my podcast. I need to get Sam on my podcast. This is a personal note to get him on my podcast. But so when we talk CRMs, there's guys that can do these amazing things with Go High Level. But Go High Level is more user friendly, right? So if you want a marketing centric CRM, I'm going to recommend Go High Level. It's what we use for our solar company, and it can do really cool things. So you can have your funnels for your product, but you can also have funnels for recruits. You can have funnels for salesperson support. It can create actions within the system. It can do a lot of these other tweaks, you know what I'm saying? But it depends on the version you get as well. Because if you get the agency version, you can do whatever you want. But if you get your Go High Level from an agency, you know what I mean? They're giving you a template with, that is good for solar or good for roofing or good for whatever the case is. They've got all their automations built in there and everything. That's cool. I love that because it makes my job easier. We just drop the lead in and everything, happens after that. But you're limited in what you can do in that system, right? Whereas, these guys that these guys that actually own the Go High Level account that you're using have a lot more flexibility in what they can do with that, right? So you have to go to them to get them to change it. It's this whole deal, right? And so kind of the medium in between, what I found is John Hiley is really good at the website and setting up the marketing for Go High Level, right? And then you got guys that are better at follow up, right? Which is like Brent Attaway. On the solar side, Brent Attaway, who is who I'm going to recommend to set up your Go High Level, because he successfully sold his solar company a couple years ago for 7 figures. No, sorry. Yeah, 7 figures. And exited that, and he is basically running on the platform that he used in order to build out that solar company. And if you guys know how hard it is to sell as a sales organization, and that he was able to pull that off based on what him and his brother did, and one of the things that they did was these automations through Go High Level, then you need to get a piece of that, right? And so his company is called Extreme Follow Up. That's Brent Attaway. So check him out. Pretty much any other platform, I'm going to recommend John Hiley to set up your CRM, or Sam Caius out of Australia over there. He's an expert when it comes to CRM, whereas John's more of an expert when it comes to the overall marketing plan, right? So all these guys are great at what they do. And so I know another honorable mention is HubSpot, but from what I understand, secondhand information, HubSpot is more like a Salesforce, where you've got to become educated on the platform itself, or you got to pay somebody else $100 an hour, $200, $300, $400 in order to set it all up for you, right? And then there's the tried and true method, which is what we ran our AT&T campaign on for several years, which is Google Sheets. And we didn't have, because remember, we were a one-time acquisition company, so we acquired the customer, AT&T paid us for that customer, and then our job was done. Typically we didn't have a whole lot to do on the customer service side, and we weren't able to retarget or remarket to those customers. So Google Sheets worked fine for us. We got our reporting from AT&T. Hey, these are all the customers you signed up. And then that reporting then fed into payroll sheets, where we paid out all of our guys using those. So again, when it comes to that design and the way those things flowed, Shannon set up a lot of that for us. So I'm going to toot her horn again here. And I will include her contact info in the show notes, so you guys can reach out to her if you want to contract her for some of your systems build out. Okay, so another tool that we're going to move on to from CRMs is if you're doing door-to-door sales, or if you're doing B2B or referral-based, you're going to need a canvassing tool, okay? And so the best canvassing tool on the market right now is SalesRabbit. But it's very similar to Salesforce or Slack, where it's a high-end tool. It's got a lot of gadgets and gizmos. Like SalesRabbit, you can sign contracts through. You can they have their own internal messaging app, so you can kind of replace a Slack or a Pronto or a GroupMe using SalesRabbit. So all your guys can communicate through there. You can have a company newsletter run through there. So basically, the way SalesRabbit works is it's built out for sales organizations, to where your salesperson can wake up in the morning and boom, their SalesRabbit has their appointments, has their routes that day, where they're going to knock, where they're going to work, their turf. It's got their manager attached to them. Their manager can feed them information through the app. It's the all-in app, but it starts out at $45 a user. So you better be producing already and be able to afford that. So a nice in-between is Spotio. And so I use Spotio for my referral partner division. So these are my guys that go out to real estate offices, roofing companies, apartment complexes, and they create referral partners with the people that work there. And they send them business, whether it be AT&T business or solar business. And so they use Spotio because all their tracking is not individual customers, but they're tracking referral partners. When was the last time they visited them? And basically, what was the last thing they talked about? They put their notes in there. Has 3 kids, loves fishing, loves the number 2 at Starbucks, stuff like that. That's going to help them manage that relationship. because they may have anywhere from 70 to 80 relationships at any given time. So that's what they're doing on that end. Spadio works great for that. So for my solar team, when they're in the field, they use a software called Cortiva. So Cortiva isn't just a software; they're a installation partner is what I'm going to call them, because they have access to regional installers for solar. But the beautiful thing about their software is it's A to Z, right? So it's your very basic CRM. It is your canvassing app. So you can go through, you can open up Cortiva wherever you are and basically see a map of the area and be able to start dropping pins. And, like I knocked this home, nobody answered. Somebody answered, they want me to come back at 2. You can do all that stuff. You can manage your canvassing through Cortiva. And then it transitions right into the appointment, transitions right into the proposal tool, which transitions right into the presentation tool, which transitions right into the finance tool to finance the solar system, which transitions right into the project management tool, which you can see where the product's at in the process. So if you're just getting into solar and you're not installing yourself and you don't have systems in place to do the proposal, do the financing, the back end of these financing companies' websites are a joke. They are so difficult to use. And expecting your salespeople to be able to navigate all that and a proposal tool and a canvassing tool when Cortiva can put it all together for you. And then the beautiful thing is they have door-to-door sales training on the back end through Door-to-Door University. So Sam Taggart has like 6 videos on there, as well as they have solar sales training on the back end. So same thing, Door-to-Door University. And I know they're going to be doing some stuff with, what's the other company? Danny Pessy's company. It just left me. But those are 2 great training companies that Cortiva is including in their back end. And so that's going to be huge. So if you're in solar or if you're wanting to get in solar, I would 100% use them. If you just need a referral partner in solar, I'm your guy. You can just send me the referral and my guys will take care of the close, and then we'll send you the referral fee. All right, so going back to canvassing and turf apps, Sales Rabbit, Spadio, Cortiva. Again, medium-sized company, I'm going to recommend Spadio. If you're a bigger company, got 20-plus guys, I'm going to recommend Sales Rabbit because you can actually get some volume discounts in there. And if you don't have a contract tool, if you don't have a CRM, if you don't have all this stuff, Sales Rabbit can act as that for you. And then you can actually hold your guys accountable, see how often, how many knocks they make that day, all that good stuff. It's a huge accountability tool too. Same thing with Spadio and Cortiva, but those are not as robust, right? All right, guys, we're going to cut this one off and break it into 2 parts. I am amazed that it lasted this long and that I've got a whole nother 40 minutes for you guys, but we're gonna wrap this one up and ask you to, as always, subscribe and review. And we will finish this episode on the following Monday, part 2, with the rest of the toolbox. Thank you guys so much, and let's get building.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Building Great Sales Teams. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. Remember, great sales teams are not recruited. They are built block by block. Until next time.